Normal business has resumed. The monster is back. Hello everyone, I hope you're well. Today I'm going to go through my March reads, and honestly, March has been a good month. Like, I've had some really good books. I've only had one book this month that I didn't enjoy, like, that was just a bit naff. The rest have literally been 4 and above. Like, it's unheard of. I have had my first 5-star read this month, which I am so happy with, because I was literally saying in the last video that I did that I'd not had any 5-star reads yet, and this month I finally had some. I have got my notes again, so if I'm looking down, that's why. So if you like this video, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff, and all my socials and things are linked in the description below. Let's go through the books I read in March. So in case you've not watched January and February videos, I will link it anyway. But just to very quickly go through my rating system with you. So 1 star, didn't enjoy it. Maybe even DNF'd it, or I finished it, but I don't know why I finished it, didn't enjoy it at all. 2 stars, it was okay, it was a book, don't think any more of it than that. 3 stars, it was good, I enjoyed it, glad I read it. 4 stars, really great book, enjoyed it a lot, would recommend that you read it as well. 5 stars, oh my god, mind blown, best book in the world, absolutely loved it. Everybody needs to go and read this book immediately. That's sort of where my ratings sort of lie. So I did only read 6 books this month, so it wasn't quite as much as February, but like I said, the quality of the books I read this month I would definitely say are better than last month. So I didn't read as much, but the books I did read I enjoyed a lot more. I've also read quite a bit on my Kindle this month, just because a lot of the books that I have read have been ARCs. So the last book that I read in February was After by Anna Todd. So going into March I jumped straight into the second book. So this is After We Collided by Anna Todd. So it's the second one in that series. So I rated this book 3 stars. Now I did enjoy it and I do still recommend it. So this one is written in dual POV, so we actually get the perspective of Tessa and Harden in this one, which I do really like. And I do prefer to book number 1, but I do think this book gets very repetitive. I will still continue this series because I do love the books and I can't really remember what happens after this one. But yeah, like I said, this one just for me feels really repetitive. Like, it's just, they're together, they're not, they're together, they're not, they're together, they're not, and it gets a bit frustrating. This one is like the main character Tess is trying to just come to terms with what happened at the end of book 1 and trying to find a way to sort of rebuild their relationship. There's a lot of character development within this one, like especially for Harden. He really just likes to try and do better, and then just kind of has that moment where he messes up again. And yeah, there is a lot of character development for both characters actually. Tessa does have a fair share of development too. 3-star read for me. I didn't love it as much as I had hoped I would, but I did still really enjoy it and will be continuing the series at some point. So my second read in March was this book here. So this is The Couple at Number 9 by Claire Douglas. Now this book for me just showed the importance of mood reading. Like, I am definitely a mood reader. Like, I don't really do planned TBRs. I can't plan out like that. I just need to look at my bookshelf and go, okay, I fancy that kind of book today, and then I'll pick that book up. So this book here was the book that was chosen for our book club. So there's a group of us in Sheffield that have created like a little book club, and this is the book that came out for this month. Now, so it's a thriller book, and if I was in the mood for a thriller, I do think I would have really enjoyed this book. So I rated this 2.5 stars, and I do think it's a little bit harsh, but at the time I just wasn't feeling it and I just wasn't enjoying it, but I needed to get it read. It has so much potential, and I'd like to say, if I was in the mood for a thriller, I do think I'd have really enjoyed it. I did find it predictable at times, but the twists and turns are really good. There's quite a lot of perspectives in this book, so if you're somebody that's confused by multiple perspectives, I wouldn't recommend this. Basic sort of plot line: a couple move into her grandma's house. Like, her grandma gives the house to a mum and her mum doesn't want it, so gives it to her daughter, and they move in and they're having the patio extended, and basically 2 bodies are found under the patio, and it's how they're sort of trying to figure out what actually happened and why there was 2 bodies buried under the patio and stuff, and who they are as well, because they've been there for at least 40 years. Her grandma's got dementia, so she can't really explain the story herself. Like I say, it does have so much potential, and I really wanted to enjoy it, but I just wasn't in the mood for a thriller when I read this book. Like I said, this was a 2.5 star for me. but a lot of the book club girls have been rating it like 4 stars, 5 stars, so it must be good for multiple people to be rating it that. It just wasn't what I was feeling at the time. So the third book I read in March was Scarlet by Kaylee Hilton, and I devoured this book. Like, I literally read it in 2 sittings. So after the last book I didn't read for like nearly a week, and then I was speaking to Kaylee through Instagram and she sent me over her book, and honestly I devoured that book. Like, I enjoyed it so much, and it's her first book as well. It's a romance book. It's got some like really dark topics in there, and I definitely have a quick look at the trigger warnings if you decide to read it. But yeah, there's a lot of really lovely romance, but there's also a lot of like darkness and a lot of action, a lot of fighting. It's hard to explain without sort of like completely ruining the book. The first chapter, honestly, if you can get like a sample of it, just read those first few pages and I can guarantee you'll be hooked from there. But it's like, yeah, so this group have escaped a correction facility. Kids are taken from really young and they're trained to be assassins, basically. And they manage to escape, but they're constantly being looked for. So the owner of the facility is constantly hunting them down and stuff. And it's just, there's a lot of fighting. There's a lot of like mental health discussions and like PTSD, things like that. It is a bit of a slow burn on the romance, but the romance is definitely there. There's like hints at spice, but it's not really spicy. It's like a found family, age gap romance. It's dual POV. I think there's a couple of chapters from other characters as well, but it's mainly from 2 perspectives. But yeah, I just love this book. I think there's such a lovely contrast between like the darkness of their situation and like the sweetness of their romance. It's just such an amazing contrast, and like, you just hooked. You just can't put it down. Like, I honestly, when I say I did this in 2 sittings, I started it on the Thursday. It was finished by the Friday night. Like, I got home from work on the Friday and I just sat and read. I just kept reading and kept reading. So I actually rated this book 4.5 stars. I have ordered this book and it should be arriving in the next couple of days, and I do think this will be my first book that I actually annotate as well. So when I get the physical copy, I do plan on reading it again and actually annotating the book, because there's so many lovely quotes in there. And when you order the book, you get 6 bookmarks for free as well. I don't know if she's keeping that deal on or not, but I know at the minute you get these bookmarks too, and they have some of the lovely quotes on. There is also part 2 coming out hopefully the end of this year, which I'm really excited for, because the ending is definitely like a cliffhanger and I need to know what's going on. Going on to the 4th book that I read this year, this is Powerless by Lauren Roberts. Now, this was my first 5-star of the year. I loved this book. Like, I absolutely loved it. I loved it so much. I feel like if you're somebody that's just getting into fantasy, this is a great place to start. If you're a fan of the Hunger Games, you'll love this. A lot of people have complained with how similar it is to Hunger Games, but it is definitely Hunger Games inspired, but it's Hunger Games with a fantasy twist. So it's dual POV from our main female character and our main male character. It's another action-y one with an underlying romance. It's like a rich and the poor. It's a forbidden love, I guess. Again, for just like a little bit of story. I can't remember what they call them off the top of my head. But there's the people with powers, and then there's the people without the powers, and everybody without powers was banished from the city. But she has basically learned how to pretend to have powers. So like each person has a different one. So like some people have like the ability to move really quickly, others have like psychic abilities, others have like abilities to make you have visions, things like that. Basically, like, people get selected to go forward and be in these trials, and she obviously goes in not having any powers, so she's then fighting against all these people that do, but ends up sort of falling for one of the main male character who sort of helps her in a way. But then there's a big twist at the end and it leaves on a massive cliffhanger, and we have to wait till June for book 2. So it's not too long. We do have a novella coming out literally next week. I believe it's the 11th of April, and then book 2 doesn't come out until the 4th of July. And I cannot wait to get my hands on that book, because it's killing me. It's killing me. I love this so much, and the ending made me so sad that I was just like, why did nobody warn me of this? Because I would have waited till closer to July to read this book. It's honestly eating me up. I cannot wait to get my hands on book 2. It will be pre-ordered on payday, ready to literally be at my door on the day of release. And I will finish my books and I will be sat waiting for book 2 to arrive at my door. My first 5-star read of the year. I really, 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 really enjoyed this book. Going on to my 5th read of March. Now, This was another one that I'd read on my Kindle, and it was Beyond Expectations by Natasha Allen. So this one is another dual POV. It is a romance book, but well, it's an interracial romance book, so it's also like billionaire romance, it's a workplace romance. Now this is a spicy book. It's from right at the beginning. There's no easing into it. Like from early on in this book, you are hit with spice, which some people love, because like I hate when you're like waiting and waiting and waiting for something to happen. Like it drives me insane. So when you can get into a book and instantly have that spice, I'm like, yes. I love that stuff. Yeah, I did really enjoy this book. I rated it 4 stars. It went into some quite deep and meaningful topics of like the struggles that interracial couples can face, but it did it without being really heavy. It's just such a beautifully written book, and like they have their struggles at the beginning and then they kind of sort it and they have some more struggles, but then right at the end it's all just so, it's such a happily ever after kind of story. And the ending, like if I was a crier, the ending would have had me sobbing, and I know quite a lot of the girls that read it alongside me were absolutely crying their heart out. I don't cry at books. I've never cried at a book. I'm heartless, I know. But if I was a crier, I would have absolutely bawled my eyes out at the ending of this book. It's just so sweet and so lovely. And this book actually, on filming this, is released today. But you can now actually go and pick this up. It's on things like Amazon. You can also get it through her website and things. But I definitely recommend you going and getting this book. It was a 4-star read for me, and probably like a 3 out of 5 for spice. I've definitely read spicier books, but the spice in this book is good. And then finally, the last read in March for me was Unhinged by Steph Macker. Now, this book, how do you even start trying to explain this book? This book is messed up, but in such a great way. So I rated this book 4 stars. It's like an asylum / like glorified rehab center kind of vibe. It's a why choose romance. It's it's messed up in its own way. If you've read the book, the morgue scene. Excuse me, huh? There's like the female main character has like a very traumatic background, and all of these people are in this asylum because they've done something they shouldn't have, whether that be killed somebody or I don't know. You don't really get too many people's background stories. There's definitely some dark themes. It's a definite morally grey male character, or male characters even. It's like a villain gets the girl. It's such a good read. You need to read it, but please read the warnings before you go into this book, because there is some weird topics. So it's another 4-star read for me this month, and I did really enjoy it. I again ate that up. The books I've read this month have either like, there's been gaps in between, but when I've read them, I've like binge read them because I'm just like obsessed. I just need it. I just need it. They're the books that I've read in March. So the beginning of the month wasn't very strong. I had a 3-star read, a 2-star read, and then after that it was 4.5, 5, 4, 4. Like I've had a really strong month book-wise. Like I've really enjoyed most from like mid-March onwards. I have really enjoyed the books that I've read. It's definitely been my favourite reading month so far. I've definitely found sort of like the vibe I want to read at the minute. Everything at the moment, I'm just so drawn towards fantasy and fantasy romance, or just romance in general. I used to just be a strictly thriller girly, and I'm just not feeling it at the minute. Basically, if it doesn't have spice, I'm not interested. That's basically what I'm getting at. But yeah, that's the 6 books that I read in March. Like I say, best month yet. Absolutely loved it. Had a great old time. Yeah, keep the suggestions coming. My wish list is forever growing. Like my Amazon wish list is just covered. It's just full of all the books I really want to get to. Thank you so much for watching this video. Again, if you enjoyed it, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff. And my social medias and things are linked below if you want to see some written reviews on some of the books that I've read. Yeah, I hope you're well. Take care. See you next time.